Hi guys, so I've frankly lost count how many times I've said that Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage, or as I like to call them, the Bozo Bunch, will not be affected by Brexit. They are financially protected from any impact, while the poor, the working class and even the middle class are going to suffer the consequences and are already suffering the consequences of Brexit. So this is in regards to students who are living in the EU or are planning to move to the EU to study, maybe to learn a language, to improve their language skills, to learn about the culture, to develop their skills, life skills as well. It's becoming more and more expensive because of Brexit. So it says here, this is from Daniel Killiman. I do recommend following him on Twitter. He's a professor of political science and law. So it says, students arriving in EU countries must submit large amounts of paperwork to obtain visas and proof of more than 6,000 euros in their bank account in Austria, Italy and Portugal, or of an income of 700 to 800 euros a month in Germany, Denmark and Sweden. As I said before, the rich Brexiteers are not affected by this. Working class and middle class people are affected by this. So I want to read a little bit more from this article in The Guardian. It says, despite the new rules coming into force nearly 2 months ago, academics said many students were still stuck in the UK awaiting further instructions or attempting to decipher conflicting information. It's important to remember that this is not an EU thing. This is something that depends on each individual country. Remember, this was not necessary. It was not necessary to enforce this upon students. The Brexiteers wanted this. Some students who remained in the EU countries over Christmas to avoid Brexit complications have been told they must return to the UK to apply for their visas. So that these are students who are halfway through their courses perhaps, and they have to return to the UK to apply for a visa to return to the country in the EU. And unfortunately, the UK government is, completely ignoring these people. It goes on to say the UK government guidance remains insufficient, full of unhelpful "you may need" phrases and links to other EU government sites that often contradict that guidance. So the UK government is saying you should do this, you should try this, or how about doing this, and they send you to the link of a EU government website. No preparation here. No real guidance. It's all proving very confusing, stressful and expensive for students who until recently had freedom of movement, said Julia Waters, a professor of French and the Year Abroad coordinator at the University of Reading. Freedom of movement was taken away. Brexiteers wanted that. Of course, they wanted it to stop immigrants from the EU coming in. But it was a complete lack of work on behalf of the media in the UK to not challenge people like Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage when it came to freedom of movement for British people. They were always banging on about we need to end freedom of movement because we have all these quote unquote horrible immigrants coming in to steal our jobs or poop in our gardens or whatever was the Daily Mail article of the day. There was never any pushback from the media. There was never a question of, well, what about our people? Or actually, when it was raised as an issue, British exceptionalism came in and, jumped in, and the response was always, well, they need us more than we need them. Of course, they're going to welcome our students back into their countries. Well, either you were lying when you said that, or you didn't understand a flying F about Brexit. So the article goes on to say, the year abroad is a mandatory part of modern language degrees for about 7,000 students in the UK, and it is considered essential to improve their language fluency and cultural awareness, as I've said. If you want to learn French, if you want to learn German, if you want to learn Spanish, the best way to learn it is in the country. But once again, I think Brexiteers don't care about that. What's the point in learning French? What's the point in learning German? The EU is about to collapse at any moment. I think that's the typical response from Brexiteers. We don't need to learn French. We were an empire. I'm laughing about this because we have to laugh, otherwise we cry. It's so tragic. You know, people, xenophobes, voting to take away other people's right to freedom of movement. That's what Brexit was about. It goes on to say, lots of students have been planning to head out at the beginning of, lots of students had been planning to head out at the beginning of 2021, while those studying 2 or more languages typically divide the year into placements in different countries. Yeah, this is not just a case of, okay, I get my paperwork ready for France and then I'll be okay. No, but because in many cases, maybe you want to travel to other parts of the EU to develop your skills. Because of the way language, for example, Germany or Austria, the German in both countries is slightly different. Maybe, an advantage in learning German is to experience it in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, for example. The Brexit disruption follows months of uncertainty caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Students have complained of inconsistent approaches across universities. Some have prevented students from traveling all year, while others cancelled the first semester, in some cases at the last minute. This has been further complicated by EU countries introducing travel bans on non-EU residents, which now apply to UK citizens. So once again, there was freedom of movement that was taken away, which complicated the issue. Then there was the pandemic, which made it more difficult for students to travel. But while the pandemic will be, over sometime, hopefully very soon, Brexit is here to stay. And it's a failure of government not to prepare for that. As I've said on numerous occasions in the past, the British government should have extended the Brexit transition period. They should have extended in order to prepare for these types of scenarios. But instead, Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers didn't give a flying F. It was all about getting Brexit done. And at the end of the day, once again, the poor, the working class, and even the middle class are suffering the consequences. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?